I have made many people angry over the years when I talk about how I write in my books, but those people don't see how I'm turning my version of my book into a masterpiece. So let me show you how. Hi, I'm Daisha, and welcome to Books with Daish. So if you are new here, then welcome. If you followed me for a while, then I truly appreciate that. Today I want to talk about annotation, why I annotate, and how it's completely changed the way that I read. So many people wonder, why do I annotate? What's the purpose? A lot of people feel that it's reminiscent of school and having to sit there and read a book like a textbook. The reason that I annotate deals a lot with how I connect with a book, my retention, my memory of the book, and then also being able to reflect back. When I was in high school, I had a teacher, and he actually made us write questions and deeper thoughts into the margins of our books. So whatever we were reading in class, we had to read a certain amount of pages, and then we would have to comment on those pages when we got to class. So writing in my book has never been so taboo for me because I started out doing it kind of at a young age. Now, back then, I was writing typically in pencil. It wasn't that serious. Therefore, changed. So then I went to college. My reading kind of fell off, but I came back into reading after I graduated and began reading for fun again. It became writing, highlighting, doodling. My style has changed over the years, and you're going to see that. I used to have more of a basic style. So every time I annotated a book, I used the same color scheme. So pink was love, green was angry, blue was sad, purple was usually world building, orange was like connections, like to myself, or like the way I connected a book to something else. So this is a series written by my friend Ryan Matthews, and it is a sci-fi series that's dystopian, very good. Highly recommend. So when I annotated these, I was still using the old system where the same color meant the same thing across all books. I ended up changing before I got to the end of the series, but I kept these the same original colors. Where I went into the second book, I like to reflect on the first book. If you look at these books, I actually did a beta read for him. So a lot of the notes in here are just like things that I thought that I wanted to tell him. But you'll notice there's mostly just tabbing. So you get like typed my notes out. Like I said, my process did evolve. Now I like to match my tabs to the color of the book, or at least the vibe of the book. So each book that I read, I choose what those tabs mean. And I usually do this as I read it. So some people wonder how I pick what's going to be in the book before I know. And the answer is I don't. So like if I'm reading a love story, I already know there's going to be love, right? And there's probably going to be emotion, and I'll probably have notes. So those are like my main three. When I annotated the 7-year slip, I had notes, magic, love, funny, and emotional. I didn't know the book was going to be funny at first. So that was actually a color that I remember adding in later as I got started, because I'm like, oh, this book is kind of funny. I added that color in. Some other books that I've enjoyed, like Fourth Wing. This is a book that I've annotated both of my reads, my first and my second read, and it was so fun. Look back at my notes in hindsight as I read the other book, and to be able to add additional information as I learned different things throughout the series. I have some people that wonder, how do I choose what to annotate? I just choose. So if I start a book and I feel like it's something I want to annotate, then I will. And if I don't feel like it, then I just don't. It's a process that I truly enjoy. So typically I will annotate a book. But sometimes there's not that many tabs because I get into it and realize it's not something that I really want to tab. A lot of things that I tab include like quotes, just parts that I love, anything that made me angry, sad, anything I want to reflect on, anything that I think might be important to the plot, especially mysteries. Like if I have like a theory or an idea of who's doing something, or like even in a thriller. As I said before, I will annotate the book, and then I make the cute like annotation key that you see that goes in the front at the end, because then I know for sure exactly what are the elements that I want to annotate and what colors everything needs to be. So if you want more of like a concrete example of all the things that I'm talking about, I do have a free PDF that you can download that walks through like all of my steps and shows how I kind of start annotating, what I annotate. Like I said, it's free. Another thing I really like about annotating is just the emotional and practical reasons of it. I like to be able to make a deeper connection as I read. And then if I do forget, I can always reflect back to the things that I said in my annotations or in my notes or my highlights. So I basically treat my books kind of like a scrapbook. They become kind of like a scrapbook where I just add my notes, my feelings, like doodles, anything that I'm feeling. And I love being able to share my annotated copies, like with my friends that read my books, or even my mom. She reads a lot of my books, so she thinks it's so fun to read my annotations because it's kind of like reading the book with me, even though she's going to text me about it anyway. Also got to share my love of annotation on my Etsy this year, and that has been so fun. A misconception that people have is that you're ruining your book and it has to be perfect. And I want to say that that is not true. My books are not perfect. I've messed up. I've had pens that were way too dark, and I have stray marks. I have crooked lines. And I think the most important thing to remember is this is just your book, right? This is your masterpiece of your book. It doesn't even have, let's not even call it a masterpiece, right? It is just your copy. And I think there's something so beautiful with knowing that even if my book has flaws and it has, you know, mess ups, there's no other copy of this book that looks just like mine. And I love that. And I think that kind of helped let go of some of the pressure. I do have some tips and tricks to avoid some mess ups. I like to test my pens and my highlighters on a page at the back, kind of like the acknowledgments page, just to see how that pen is going to react to the paper and make adjustments, because some paper is thinner than others. Another thing that I like to do is sometimes you'll see me make straight lines. I like to do wavy lines when I underline a part. That way it doesn't matter if it's crooked because it's wavy, so you can't tell. And that honestly helps me to annotate faster than having to go find a straight edge and make a perfect line. But you can do that. I mean, it's perfect, still press. The pens that I like, you've probably seen them before, and there's different brands. I'm not really sure who makes them, but they're like this like gray pen. The ones I have are ABAYAM. I buy them. I don't know. Pens. But when I looked them up, there was like several of the same looking pen, just different brands. But anyway, these are like a thin tip and they don't really bleed. So it is a good pen. Although I do like Papermate, Inkjoy, and Flair pens, but be warned, they do bleed. If this still feels overwhelming to you, I do have some things for sale on my Etsy that would make your process easier, starting with my annotation kits. The really cool thing about my annotation kits is I have a customization box where you can let me know what colors you want. And if you even tell me what book you plan to annotate, then I can help you to match the tabs to the color of the book. Or if you don't want to annotate yourself, but you want to read an annotated copy, I do have books for sale on my Etsy. So I will link those down both below. You stuck with me this long. First of all, thank you so much. Second, I want to know, what is your experience with annotation? Have you tried it before? Will you try it? So please let me know down below. Like I said earlier, I will link all of my different links down below. And thank you so much. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to get more updates from when I post.